Coming up on today's show, I'm going to be talking about the news that's coming out about now Kurt Zouma picking up an injury as well as the whole Noble fiasco. Is he happy? Is he not in his role as sporting director? As well as the news that, according to reports, West Ham United have rejected a bid from Lorient for our goalkeeper, Alphonse Areola. All of that is coming up on today's West Ham Transfer News Show right here on West Ham Unofficial. Last hour or so through 90-minute football and Toby Cudworth, it's come out that apparently, according to their sources through 90-minute football, Kurt Zouma has picked up an injury. They've put out an article on their website and it reads, as I quote word for word, Kurt Zouma is another player to have emerged from West Ham's game with Everton with a knock, and he could also be sidelined for at least a couple of weeks. This is just a never-ending cycle of injuries for West Ham, and the season's turning from bad to worse through these injuries. We had Danny Ings yesterday. Looks like we've now got Kurt Zouma today, and it's now put us in a pretty perilous position centre-back wise, because we've let go Craig Dawson, so we've now fit centre-backs, if this is right, only really got a Gerd left and Ogbonna, which leaves Kera having to come in maybe, which is just, not good for anyone, I don't think, because centre-back's definitely not his best and favoured position. So it leaves two proper fit centre-halves there in a Gerd and Ogbonna. Now, we can't trust them because, as we know, a Gerd has had a couple of injuries already in his time at West Ham. And of course, Ogbonna is still, he looks like he's got past it, but he has, in the more recent past, picked up an incredibly horrible ACL injury, so that could crop up, and he's not going to be completely away from injury, so it wouldn't surprise me if he picks up an injury as well. We've got a lot of injury prone players currently at the club, and they all seem to be going down at once, and it's a little bit worrying, because if another one goes down, then we are really in the bad position. So yeah, it's not good at all. And if that news is true, then hopefully, if it's only for a couple of weeks, we can get him back as soon as possible. Don't rush him back in, because it will just make things worse. And get him back as soon as possible within reason, because of that fact. And hopefully he's not out for too long. It's not any worse. It's being first sort of mentioned. But yeah, it's a big blow. Seeing Zouma and Gerd for the first time together on Saturday was a massive boost. I thought they both played really well with each other. So it's another setback for West Ham. It's another setback for David Moyes that he's going to have to contend with. So according to 90-minute football, Kurt Zouma has picked up a small knock that's going to put him out for at least 2 weeks. Moving on now to the whole fiasco about Noble. Then West Ham Twitter went into a frenzy today because there was reports that Mark Noble's resigning in his role as sporting director, whatever that sort of job consists of. I don't even think they know what that job consists of. It's just a title that football clubs use, isn't it, really? But there was talks of he was sort of baffled about the transfer strategy, and he wasn't happy, and there'd been some sort of argument there. But coming out of X today, on Mark Carlaw through Twitter, he has said Noble has become frustrated with certain aspects of his position and voiced this to the hierarchy. The situation is now resolved, and all parties need to continue together and building a strong working relationship going forward. Now, this surprised me when I saw this, and it was sort of bubbling over when I got home from school, and it was still in its sort of peak before we'd had confirmation from XWU employee of this. But the sort of word was that Noble's about to resign, and he wasn't happy with the way things were going, and he'd had a sort of disagreement, and he'd voiced his opinions, as he has done, rightly so, there to the hierarchy about how things are going at the moment. And some people saying it's resulted in him resigning, but according to X, he's going to stay in his job, and they're going to try and build the relationship up. I do think eventually he will have a massive say in big sort of decisions that are made in the football side of things, and maybe in the other side of things as well. But I think it's key we keep hold of him for sure. And this isn't good news coming out of West Ham today, because it it sort of shocks me, but didn't shock me at the same time, because I'm like, yeah, I can understand why Noble's getting frustrated, but I never thought this sort of thing would happen. I thought he'd just sort of get on with it. But fair play to him. He's voiced his opinions as many of the fans want to. He's probably been a voice for the fans today. But if they've got that resolved, hopefully we can move forward positively with things. Now, moving on to the final thing I want to talk about today. Now, according to reports over in France, West Ham have rejected an offer from Lorient to sign goalkeeper Alphonse Areola. The Hammers want to retain the 29-year-old services going into the second half of the season. Now, Areola is a difficult one, isn't it? Because it was okay that he was playing second fiddle last year, but then we signed him permanently. We went, bosh, right, there we go. Obviously, he's now going to become our starting goalkeeper. But how wrong were we? Because Fabianski's just kept calm and carried on, and he leaving Alphonse Areola, obviously, who picked up an injury a couple of weeks ago, which meant he didn't get any game time in the FA Cup, which has left him with very minimal game time in the last sort of 2 years in his time at West Ham with Alphonse Areola. It's been really, really strange how we did convince him to come if we weren't going to promise him a proper amount of game time, which we've not given him. So it wouldn't have surprised me if we let him go, to be honest with you. But it seems like we've rejected an offer and we want to keep him at the club. There's not been any really reports that he's been unhappy with the amount of game time. He may well be unhappy, but it's all been kept under wraps. But there's been sort of no reports of that. So, it may suggest that he's happy with the role he's playing, and maybe there's been a reassurance that at some point he is going to take over the role of first choice goalkeeper from Lucas Fabianski, because we know that's going to happen at some point. So maybe he's had that reassurance. I don't know. But another interesting thing to take off of that is the deals involved with Lorient, and of course Lorient have a striker we're after at the moment, which is Terem Moffi. So it wouldn't surprise me if we're still in for Terem Moffi, if we want to still bring a striker to the club. Obviously, with the injury status of two of our strikers at the moment, West Ham might be tempted to get another one in. Terem Moffi seems to be the most likely option. Maybe something might work there. A swap deal or something could brew there between Lorient and West Ham. They want Areola, we want Moffi. Something could occur there. I don't know. I know as much as you do. I'm just guessing there. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. There's still a week left of this transfer window, and something tells me West Ham are not done yet. I do not know why, but yeah, what we've discussed today, according to reports, Kurt Zouma's injured, another one to add to the list. Noble, is he happy? I don't think he has been very happy today. He's voiced his opinion to the hierarchy about certain aspects of the club. That now seems to be resolved, and he is not resigning from his role as sporting director at West Ham. And we've rejected a bid for Alphonse Areola from French side Lorient. So there we go. You're up to date. That's some of the West Ham news and transfer news. Thank you very much for watching. From me, come on you irons, and I'll catch you soon right here on West Ham Unofficial. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.